There comes a moment in every man's life that feels like an ending, but it's not. It's a quiet, uncomfortable, almost invisible shift. The person you used to be no longer fits, yet the person you're becoming hasn't fully arrived. And in that space, it feels like something inside you is dying. That something is your old identity. Most people don't talk about this phase because it's confusing. It's not dramatic like failure, and it's not exciting like success. It's uncertain. You wake up and your old habits don't satisfy you anymore. The conversations you used to enjoy feel empty. The routines that once defined you now feel like a cage. And that's when fear creeps in, because your mind starts asking dangerous questions. Who am I without this? What if I lose everything? What if I become no one? So, what do most people do? Well, they go back. They cling to the old identity. Not because it's right, but, because it's familiar. They shrink themselves to fit into a version of life that no longer matches who they are becoming. And slowly, bit by bit, they trade growth for comfort. But here's the truth most people never realize. You cannot become someone new without letting someone old die. This is not a failure. This is transformation. Think about it. Every stage of your life required you to outgrow the previous one. The boy you once were had to die for the man to emerge. The inexperienced version of you had to disappear for wisdom to take its place. But as you get older, you resist that process. Why? Because now there's more to lose. You've built an identity around your job, your routines, your relationships, your beliefs. You've told yourself, this is who I am. And the longer you hold on to that story, the harder it becomes to rewrite it. So, when change comes knocking, it doesn't feel like opportunity. It feels like loss. You're not just changing habits. You're dismantling a version of yourself that took years to build. That's why it hurts. That's why it feels like grief. Because in many ways, it is. You're grieving the person you thought you would always be. But here's the part no one tells you. The pain you feel is not a sign you're doing something wrong. It's a sign you're evolving. The discomfort, the confusion, the loneliness. It's all part of shedding an outdated identity. And just like any form of growth, it requires you to step into the unknown without guarantees. You won't have all the answers. You won't feel ready. And you won't recognize yourself at first, but that's exactly the point. Growth is not about improving your old self. It's about replacing it. And that's where most people hesitate. They try to carry their old identity into their new life. They want new results, new opportunities, new levels, but with the same mindset, the same habits, the same fears. It doesn't work like that. You can't think like the person you used to be and expect to live a different life. At some point, you have to make a decision. Stay loyal to who you were, or become who you're meant to be. Because you can't do both. And here's the hardest part. No one can make that decision for you. There will be no perfect moment, no clear sign, no instant clarity, just a quiet realization that the life you're living no longer aligns with the man you're becoming. And in that moment, you have two choices: retreat into comfort, or step into transformation. But understand this, Transformation requires sacrifice. You may outgrow certain people. You may walk away from environments that once felt like home. You may have to let go of habits that defined your daily life for years. And yes, it will feel like loss. But what you're actually losing is limitation. You're shedding the version of yourself that kept you small, predictable, and safe. You're breaking away from patterns that no longer serve you. And in their place, you're creating space for growth, for purpose, for something greater. The problem is, most people quit in this phase. They mistake discomfort for danger. They mistake uncertainty for failure. They mistake identity loss for being lost. But you're not lost. You're in transition. And transition is messy. It's supposed to be. Because if it were easy, everyone would do it. Everyone would evolve. Everyone would become the best version of themselves. But they don't. Because most people are not willing to let their old identity die. They would rather stay familiar than become fulfilled. So, if you're in this phase right now, feeling disconnected, uncertain, maybe even uncomfortable in your own skin, don't panic. You're not falling apart, you're breaking through. This is the moment where everything begins to shift. This is where you stop asking, "Who have I been?" and start asking, "Who do I want to become?" And the answer to that question will require courage. Courage to let go. Courage to change. Courage to walk into a future where you don't yet recognize yourself. But on the other side of that fear is freedom. Freedom from old limitations. Freedom from outdated beliefs. Freedom to finally live in alignment with your true potential. So don't resist this process. Don't run from it. Embrace it. Because the death of your old identity is not the end of your story. It's the beginning of the life you were always meant to live.